That's a broad stroke, sir.
Is how many employees do our growing economy need to sustain that economic growth? That's the answer to your question, sir. It's not a singular statement or a singular subject. It's the economic growth of the United States. That's the answer to your question.
This is counterproductive.
That is not the answer to my question.
Guys, a Republican asks a Democrat for one number here. How many illegal aliens is too many? Then they talked about the economy, but unfortunately, they never actually gave a cap, so it seems indefinite. Take the whole planet.
Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the time, but I've got to respond. I don't know that there was one word that I agree with my colleague from Pennsylvania and what she just said. I, for one, have been to some of these facilities, and I actually have been overwhelmed with how the reality of those facilities operate differs from the narrative that we're hearing from the other side of the aisle. One in North Carolina that I was at recently, they have workout facilities, they have recreational courts, they have a video game portal where these detainees can go and play video games. They have movie rentals. They had unbelievably sufficient dining options. They even cater to individuals' faiths on an individual basis. They have worship facilities. They have free attorney portals. The idea this is somehow anything other than a professional and very humane option is simply dishonest. And for my colleague to say that the United States destabilizes countries in the world and therefore we should welcome millions and millions of people into our country illegally, that's the most specious claim I think I've heard in several weeks, if not months, in Congress, which is saying something. My question to the Democrats on the other side is there a number that we should cap enrollees? Is it 10 million, 20 million, 50 million? What about 100 million? If destabilized countries in the world is your threshold, we could triple our nation, our population in a week. We're not talking about people who come here legally, mind you. We're talking about people in the country illegally. And there is the reality that our immigration system that your party has supported has weakened the country. So with that, if anyone on this side would like to respond, I'll certainly yield the time, Mr. McClintock.
There's one other detail about these detention centers that I think needs to be added. Those who are detained in them can leave them anytime they want for any country that will accept them. They're simply not allowed to return to our country.
Right.
And the reason for that ought to be self-evident. In fact, the whole purpose of these detention centers is simply to arrange for transportation back to their home countries. And I yield back to the gentleman.
Anybody else on this side?
Mr. Chairman.
And they're choosing not to go home.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. You know, I see the outrage from my colleagues about what's happening at DHS, and I just didn't see that in the Biden years. And the border was wide open. The whole reason we've got this bill before us today is because of the damage the Democrat administration before this one did. And we wouldn't be talking about this had the border remained secure in the 4 years prior to President Trump coming back. But we're in this situation because of mismanagement and because of a DHS that harmed the American people for 4 years. And we could never get answers from the Homeland Secretary when he was here, Mr. Mayorkas. He sat right there and defied every question that was asked, said the border was secure, lied to this committee, and now here we are. And it's a shame that we've even come to this place. But I applaud your pushback, and I thank you, Mr. Roy, for this bill.
And I'll just close, Mr. Chairman, again. I do want to know from the Democrats, is there a number that we should cap it of illegal aliens inside the country? Because there was, without any question, an unchecked harm that's been inflicted on Americans because of—
Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Knott, thank you for that question. And I would say that it takes two, okay? Not only undocumented, these are undocumented workers, taxpayers, hardworking individuals who are hired by honest, law-abiding businesses.
That's a broad stroke,
sir. Is how many employees do our growing economy need to sustain that economic growth? That's the answer to your question, sir. It's not a singular statement or a singular subject. It's the economic growth of the United States. That's the answer
this
to your
is
question, sir.
counterproductive.
That is not the answer to my question.
Yes,
For
it
you
is,
to-
sir.
For you to say,
Sir, yes,
I'm
it is.
reclaiming my time. For
No,
you to,
it's not.
For you to say that we should hire anybody, or we should allow anyone that can be hired
We need
into the
immigration
country.
reform, and that would be the answer to your
That
question.
doesn't answer the
sir.
question. We have millions and millions of people who are here illegally that take rather than produce. And your
Work.
side cannot condemn them.
Workers that are here supporting our national economy.
Will you say that if
They're
someone...
not, the guys, they're not supporting. The thing is that once they actually do get these jobs in a very illicit manner, the first thing they do is they withdraw the money from that they've made in a very illicit manner and send it back via remittance to their home country. What are you talking about here? Okay, you're not really helping us. Actually, right? You're not helping us grow financially, right? We're getting products at a cheaper rate, but I mean, I guess it's indicative of how the Democrats ran things during slavery, right? Right? Ooh.
is taking more than they're producing, they should leave? I'm just
Frame the
that's a very
argument,
simple
sir.
yes, no question.
Immigrants
To say
support
that every
this economy,
illegal immigrant
sir.
is a net producer for the
Immigrants
country,
support
That's
this
wild.
economy
that is
and a positive
absolutely
net
and
benefit to our
provably
society.
false, and I think that you know that. I would argue that the asylum process has been abused. People come across the border and yell, I'm afraid of something, and they're granted entry. And of course, the previous administration was far more liberal in granting those requests.
And I will just say, I agree with you.
Well, but secondly, I would say, and probably importantly, a conviction is not required to deport someone, especially if it is an illegal re-entry. Your presence here is
It's
criminal.
illegal.
I mean,
Right.
8 U.S.C. 1326, I use that all the time when I was a federal prosecutor. So being here is sufficient to be detained and deported. But thirdly, the sanctuary jurisdictions do have a very wide paradigm in how they're operated. There's some sanctuary-leaning jurisdictions in my home state of North Carolina. We had to pass a law at the state legislature to override the discretion. But we had members of I believe it was Fairfax County, Steve Descano, where he campaigned on not charging and not leading, not even hiding the ball. He wanted to plead them down to a non-deportable offense under the INA if they were here illegally. And we heard of numerous cases where that was exercised. Number one for me was when he cut loose a pedophile with overwhelming evidence because the judge said your plea offer is deficient. So sanctuary cities, there is some merit to some of them, but the other ones, they do go far too extreme. And in terms of waiting until an illegal alien is convicted, I would just say that what we're arguing for in that instance is for an American to be harmed, the illegal alien to be caught, the illegal alien to be convicted before they're deported. And I disagree with that. If they're here, especially a second time illegally, I would prefer we not
there's no
wait for an
conversation.
American to be harmed, that we appropriately seize them and to deport them with greater efficiency. And those are my 3 points.
Will the gentleman yield? Well, it's back to the chair.
I'm happy to yield to whoever, Mr. Roy and Mr. Goldman, whoever.
Yield to the gentleman for Texas.
I just want to add just a couple things to this deal, which is the Biden-Harris administration acknowledged this problem with asylum when they said when they had between 2014 and 2019, a full 83% of the people who were subject to expedited removal and claimed fear from that window were referred to an immigration judge. In fiscal year 24, for asylum cases originating with a credible fear claim at the border, only 8% of applications were eventually granted in immigration court. 6% were denied, 34% were not adjudicated, including cases that were terminated or dismissed. 42.7% of cases did not even bother filing the asylum application. Like, the point here is our effort to streamline this process to make sure that those who are able to claim asylum, credible fear, can have it heard without being inundated, without having the system overwhelmed, so that the 85% in the 2024 data under Joe Biden that were not, and by the way, 8% were eventually granted immigration court, so 92% weren't. That number is completely unacceptable, and it's indicative of everything that was wrong with our system under the previous administration and why we are seeking to make codification of the policies that have restored order that have restored sensibility, common sense.
When it comes down to the idea of asylum, I think asylum is a great idea. I'm not sure we should actually remove that from any type of immigration clauses. Okay, understand this here. But the problem is that we're now asking for people who are breaking into our country to have any type of honor here. Because I would think kind of by default, the honorable way to do things is to go through the port of entry because that's how you do things here, right? Like, I mean, it doesn't matter what's going on. I'm telling you, go through the port of entry, go ahead and say whatever your asylum claim is here, right? If it's a true and just one, sure. And we'll look at it. But the problem is, again, we're looking at a system that we set up for the idea of honor and allowing people that are breaking into our country in an illicit manner to then use the honor code, our honor code? Guys, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work here. And last time I looked into the numbers in terms of the asylum specifically, let's just go ahead and call it asylum fraud because that's basically what is happening at our border or was happening at our border here. Tom Homan had once stated, I think a couple of months ago, that it was 80 to 90% are going to be sent home, period. Chip Roy here is saying 92%, which seems to track here. And I honestly thought 80 seems a little bit low. And to now know that 92% are basically committing asylum fraud, it doesn't surprise me. Because again, what are we doing here? We set up a ethic and moral base, and that's pretty much based off of how we would prefer things to run in our culture here. All right. And not every other culture around the United States of America has the same ethics and morals here. Understand this. That's how things work. It's not good or bad. It's just different. That's what separates cultures. Right. And if our moral code dictates that you are not going to lie about this. We are set up to help people that absolutely need help. Your government is persecuting you because of who you are, what you do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If we set up a system like that here, based off of our morals and ethics, another culture doesn't care about that stuff, bro. Potentially. They come from a place where they're obviously running from a failed society. That failed society most likely has almost 100% declined, let's say, in the morals and ethics scenario here, potentially, right? Just an assumption here, but that's normally how that works here. People don't run from successful countries. They run from failed ones. If we do not have a cap on how many people that are coming from a lot of these failed countries and societies, then what are we going to do? Replace our successful one for a failed one? If we don't give it a caveat saying, listen, bro, you're going to have to assimilate to what we're doing. We don't need to assimilate to what you just ran from. Does that make any sense? Is that a little harsh? I feel like I'm being a little harsh today. I don't mean to be so harsh. Apologies, right? But I'd rather just be blunt and honest and true and real with you guys, because why would I sit here and try to sugarcoat things, guys? Understand what I'm saying here, please. All right? There's no need for us to assimilate to someone else's culture. Not in America. Why? Huh? Seriously, why? Now, that does not take away from the idea of, let's say, different cultures having the ability to, let's say, to enrich us as a society. I think that's a smart thing. This is kind of why I'm an advocate legitimately for travel, experience other cultures, right? And if you don't have the ability to do that, then hey, buddy down the street who is who's a legal immigrant, okay, who is trying his hardest, let's say, to kind of become an American, right, doing all the right things here. He has a different culture. Befriend him, hang out with him, see how he does things, right, on the path to becoming an American. That is perfectly amazing, guys. I don't see a single problem with that. But as long as we're not supplementing what we are for the sole purpose of like some woke hive mind ideology saying that we should have a little Mogadishu. Why? Mogadishu is a failed city. Why would we want a little Mogadishu? Right? I'm sorry, guys. A little. Let's have a little Dar es Salaam. I don't want to live in Dar es Salaam. But hopefully, you guys understand the depth of what I'm trying to say here, guys. All right. Listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Enjoy your day thoroughly. If you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, guys, I'll go ahead and catch you guys later.